Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Sunday, January 26th, 2025. Dad, we're going to the Super Bowl.
We are going to the Super Bowl.
First time in our Eagles Therapy Podcast history. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl while we're an existing podcast, still alive and well. And it's exciting. What a great game it was.
Yeah, never a worry. I never worried tonight in that game at all. It was from the start, from the beginning to the end. You know, Mike Roman said we're going to win 37-14, and I believed him, and I never worried once.
All right, I don't know about that. I watched it with you, and it seemed like there was a little bit of anger sometimes.
Little bit.
I thought there was like two spots of worry, and it was like third quarter. We 3 and out, and they went and scored, and I was like, uh-oh. And then after that, it was put to bed. I mean, it was unbelievable game. Yeah. Eagles defeat the Commanders 55-23. 55 points. It's the most points scored in an NFL championship game.
NFC, AFC championship.
In a conference championship game.
That's it.
It was the most points scored. Maybe in a Super Bowl. I mean, I know it wasn't a Super Bowl, but it might be in a playoff game maybe. I don't even know, actually, for sure. I'd have to look that up. But it was incredible, 55 points. They just seemed unstoppable today, Dad. I mean, they only punted twice, didn't turn the ball over. Only times that it didn't result in a touchdown was those 2 times we punted, the 1 field goal, and then the end of the game kneel downs.
Right. So coming out of the second half, we had that 1 3 and out, which
was a punt. Yeah,
that was bad. That one I wasn't happy about. But scoring on the first offensive play of the game was incredible. They went down the field, and I told you this early in the game. I said, whatever happens in the first 5 or 10 minutes, we know it's going to stop.
Yeah.
We know it, and we were very afraid about, the quarterbacking and all that stuff. So, but when they went down and got 3, we went, okay, we held them, which was good. Yeah. And, they just kind of, the kryptonite came out, and they just continued to just make them look like a rookie.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know we're kind of throwing a wrench into the normal layout of the pod, but what did you think of their decision on that first drive, 4th and 3, to kick the field goal instead of going for 2? They had already, going for it on 4th down. They had already done it twice successfully on that drive. I think they converted 3 third downs on that drive and 2 4th downs.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts? Why do you think they kicked that?
I think because the week before at Detroit, there's a few times early in that game that they went for 4th down and didn't get it, and they were well within easy field goal range. And I think that the coach thought, I've been rolling the dice all season. I've been playing with fire, and I think he said, let's get the 3 points and let's get ahead in this home crowd and see if we can quiet them out. Yeah. And it worked for all of about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. I know. Well, speaking of 30 seconds, even in less than that, Eagles scored their first touchdown on the first play of their offensive game.
40-yard kickoff return.
Yes, good. Yeah, huge, perfectly set up by Will Shipley to get that 40-yard kick return. And the next play, nice little toss out to Saquon going to the left. And, man, I mean, it's at that point, we knew Cam Jurgens was active before the game. It was like, oh, he can play. He's active to play. But they weren't really expecting him to. They were like, well, he's able to, but we're going to keep him out unless we need him. We did end up needing him, but early in that game, he was out. Dickerson's in. Tyler Steen is in. Now, at this point in your career as an Eagles fan, or at this point in his career, you don't really have any doubts about Tyler Steen. That's the nice thing is with him coming in, you're not really that worried. You're kind of like, hey, he's got a lot of experience. He's shown that he's pretty good. He was kind of projected to be the starter before, he got hurt and Becton took over. Right. But it was just unbelievable. First play of the game for the offense, Steen and Dickerson throw a couple guys into each other. It knocks Bobby Wagner off off his rocker, and Saquon breaks a couple tackles for a 60-yard touchdown.
Unbelievable. Dotson leading the way into the end zone. It was incredible. It's so funny because we knew that Jurgens was possibly questionable. But, we didn't look at the line right away and say, okay, is he in there? Is he in there? We didn't even think about it until later. We're like, hey, did you see him in there?
Yeah.
So we had to find a replay on YouTube because we didn't want to interrupt our podcast. The broadcast. And we were like, oh, no, he's not out there. So then we kind of went, okay. We weren't happy about it. Then, of course, they showed Jurgens 80 times on the sidelines with – and he ended up coming in amazing. It was
yes,
great.
No, I agree with you there. Then we get the ball back to the Commanders after that first play touchdown. And it's funny because I kind of told you, I'm like, well, that first play touchdown was unbelievable, the 60-yarder from Saquon. You're so excited, but you're also kind of like, man, like the defense just went through a really long drive, and they held them to 3 points, which is great, but they didn't really get any rest. So I'm like, shoot, there's kind of a negative to a big play happening right away is there's not a lot of rest.
Exactly.
Didn't really affect them. A couple plays later, they force a fumble, and a couple plays later for the Eagles, we get a touchdown. Touchdown for Saquon Barkley, gets his second carry of the game and his second touchdown of the game.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable. And it's so funny. We knew going into the game we were going to run the ball, but, we didn't know how well we're going to run the ball. And they were, the stack the box and all that thing. And like I say, with that first play, a 60-yarder, you're like, oh, my God, we're just going to run all over these guys.
Yeah. I just noticed it. I like your blanket.
Yeah, I know. It's 12 degrees out, so I figured I'd let the fans know here it's a little cold outside.
Definitely. So Saquon, 2 carries, 2 touchdowns at that point in the game. And you're starting to think, man, this could start to get blown open pretty soon if the defense keeps on playing like this. And for a moment, the defense did start playing like this. They got a sack, held to a couple incomplete passes. But then, unfortunately, I think this is when it happened, the 24-yard pass on a fake punt. Was that when it was? Or
oh, my gosh. That was a little bit later. But, yeah, it was a few drives in, but it was still definitely in the second quarter early, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, it was early. It was one of their first 2 or 3 drives that they did it.
I'm thrown off on myself. I'm sorry. I thought they got a field goal after they had to do a fake punt, so I'm a little bit out of proportion here. I thought didn't they? Am I wrong?
I thought they did.
This is the second drive where they had the second drive.
Yeah, it was 6. It was 14-6. So that second time they did kick a field goal the second time.
Yes, and that was after the fake punt.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Well, then why can't I find it listed on here?
I don't know.
Give me 1 second. Tressway.
But yeah, it's so funny because if I can elaborate on the fake punt, we had stopped them on it was a pretty good 3rd and long. It was 3rd and long and stopped them. And then right before the punt, you said, do we have to worry about the fake punt here? And I was kind of like, not really, but then remember how they took a long time before they snapped the ball.
The fake punt was in the second quarter, so I'm a little bit off on here, and I'm sorry. Okay. But I'm seeing, so I got thrown off. They kick the field goal. We get the touchdown. Right. They have to give it back to us. They fumble. Right. We go and score a touchdown. And then I thought it was on here.
3.
I'm thrown off a little bit here on the whole situation.
It's got to be a 4th down play.
I know, right? It has to be.
It was before our missed field goal, definitely. So
you keep on talking about something.
So we were looking at the fake punt, and it seemed like they were taking a long time. And I even said to you, "What are they doing? Snap the ball!" Like they and of course that's because they were just messing with us and making sure that the play was intact. Trotter hit the third string defensive end off the line, but then he just snuck right by him, and Shipley was out there in the middle of the field and didn't really play the ball, and they got a big old first down, and it was really kind of disheartening because we finally had stopped them. That was the second drive we had stopped them on, and they ended up getting a fake punt and driving the ball. So not good.
And I have no idea where this play happened. I can't find it at all. I have no idea where this play happened. I don't see it. It's like they didn't document it. I can't find it at all. It's not even showing up that a quarterback he passed the ball for 23 yards.
Yes, he did.
And I can't find it at all in here. I looked at number 23 and I can't find it anywhere. That being said, whatever. They go down. Okay, sorry. I'm throwing us way off. My apologies, everybody. We get the touchdown. They kick a field goal. Then we go down, and you're thinking, okay, let's just even it out. Unfortunately, a horrible, really, really bad play call and really bad sack taken by Jalen Hurts. Can't really even blame him for it because the play call just seemed like it was just in the wrong spot. And so he takes a sack. It gets us out of field goal range. You're still in field goal range. It's a 54-yard field goal, but Jake Elliott misses it.
But that was I believe it was a 3rd and 6, and I remember looking at you and you said, "Should we run it or pass it?" And I said, "Well, we were at the 30-ish in the 30, and I kind of went, well, I'd like to see us, maybe get half of that, make it 4th and 3 or something, and maybe be kicking a field goal from the 45, 45-yard field goal, and then we take a sack, and they blitzed, and it was kind of a no-brainer. You could see it happening. And then I didn't think we should have been kicking that field goal at that time, but we did.
I definitely thought we should have ran it. I know it's weird to say that, you should run it on third down, but you got Saquon Barkley, man.
And you're at the 31-yard line or something like that. You end up kicking a 54, so that meant you were back, 17, so you went back to the 37 instead of being at the 30 or the 27, so yeah, it was bad. Yeah. I just didn't, we know the kicking game has been a little bit suspect, if That's to say it nicely, but for us to take that chance, I didn't think it was necessary. They ended up getting the ball on the 44.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the game back now. They completely skipped the play. On the one I'm on, it shows 3rd and 6 pass incomplete, and then 1st and 10, negative 6-yard sack.
Right.
It doesn't even point out the play happened. I'm like, what is going on?
That's bad.
So that was a 23-yard pass. So I was in the right spot. They go down, they kick a field goal.
Right.
Then we go down, we miss a field goal. I'm on track. I knew what I was talking about. All right, then you're kind of bummed. You missed that field goal. You give them good field positioning.
At the 44, they take over on their own 44.
Yep, and they go down. They score a touchdown. They don't get the 2-point conversion, so it remains 14-12.
14-12.
And you're like, okay, at least you're walking away with that, nice little victory there.
I agree.
And then we go down and methodically, 5-yard, 2-yard, 10-yard, 5-yard. We did get a 31-yard pass to A.J. Brown.
Beautiful.
And then, 31-yard pass. And then that leads to a couple penalties. And then you get down and you're able to punch it in with a Jalen Hurts touchdown. Didn't get the 2-point conversion on there. That was the one where there was a penalty after the play.
Right.
That was when A.J. and Marshawn Lattimore got into a little bit of a...
Which was weird because you think A.J. would have got the penalty because he ripped the guy's helmet off.
He has a little bit of a spat.
Kind of weird.
It seemed like he put his hands up at the right time. He went, I didn't do anything.
And they must, it's always the second man in or third man in, and the referee doesn't see it all. But sometimes it works your way, sometimes it doesn't. In that sense, it did. But in a way, I didn't think we should have went for 2 there at the time because it was 20-12. 21-12 is a 9-point lead. And I still think Elliott needed to have the work kicking the extra points. I just wanted him kicking if we scored 100 touchdowns, I wanted him to kick 100 extra points because he needs to get his confidence back.
Yeah. Not to mention, making it a 2-score game, 9 points,
yes.
It's not much different than a 10-point game. I mean, just kick it, take the going up by 9. I'm good with that. So then after that, kind of the play of the game, the turning point of the game, which is kind of funny. It feels like this is also away from each other because the game feels so long, but it happened. Next play, Jake Elliott kicks off. Jeremy McNichols returns it for 17 yards, and Will Shipley comes in and punches the ball out, and Kenny Gainwell recovers it.
Will Shipley, I mean, what can we say about him? And if you don't mind me getting into it a little bit here,
yeah.
The man had 1 forced fumble, 4 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown.
His first career touchdown.
Just amazing, just the way he contributed. So you got a forced fumble on a kickoff, just like last week, 2 weeks in a row. That rarely happens.
That was 2 weeks in a row. It was Green Bay, not the Rams.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
I'll get you.
Yeah, so twice in the playoffs we have forced fumbles on the kickoff, which is
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And here it is right before half. And then, go ahead.
You're lucky if you do that once in a season.
I agree. I agree.
You're lucky if that happens once in a season. And sometimes you don't even recover the fumble. It gets jumped around. And it's like, we forced a fumble, didn't recover it. Forced and recovered 2 fumbles in the playoffs. That's unbelievable.
It's true.
A couple plays later, we get a touchdown, passing touchdown to A.J. Brown in the side, or on the side, with only 43 seconds left before the half. And then at this point, you're feeling real good because at that point was 27-12. You're thinking, all right, this is great. A little bit of a bummer before the half. The Commanders were able to march down, get a field goal on a huge run play by a 19-yard run by Jaden Daniels. And he's able to get out of bounds.
That was really the only bad defensive play in that little set. But, we know when we scored that touchdown to go up 27-12, we know we're getting the ball in the second half. There's only 39 seconds left in the half. You're thinking – maybe 34. I think it was 39. But, and you said, you looked at me and said too much time. And I'm like, no, they're not going to. Well, they did.
I know. I agree, though.
And, it just seems like that is our kryptonite. We fall apart at the end of each half. There's always that segment that kind of makes you get doubtful again. But, with Daniels, again, at that point, he was still playing like the player he had been playing all season. It wasn't until the second half where he started to.
Well, this second half
not do well.
Yeah, this second half is where it started off a little bit rough. I was pretty upset. We got a little 3 and out. I thought it was some really terrible play calling by our
especially the first play out of the half was a
quarterback run. Yes,
quarterback run instead of giving it to Barkley, just like you'd been doing in the whole game.
Lost 2 yards. Yeah,
and you're thinking, what are you doing? Like we know he's injured. And now it's 2nd and 12. It just wasn't, we were sustain a drive coming out in the second half. That's what you want to do.
Then he took a terrible sack, made it 3rd and 19. Ugly beginning of the half, and you're starting to get worried because, you're like, well, you gave Washington some momentum.
What they wanted to do was get you on a 3 and out.
And you gave Washington a momentum in the half. And the only thing you can't do is have a 3 and out. Thankfully, our defense, after a great sack by Jordan Davis, Great play from him. My negative 12-yard sack. Nice little 3-and-out by Commanders. And then at that point, it kind of felt like the game was about to get out of reach because we got the ball and 4 plays later, we scored a touchdown. Yeah. Big plays from Dallas Goedert for 26 yards.
That was beauty.
Big play from AJ for 16 yards, and then 9-yard run from Hurts, which was a great quarterback draw. I'll admit that. It's funny because the drive before the 3-and-out was terrible, and then this next drive was maybe the best drive of the season.
It's so funny how we've gotten down on Jalen Hurts and more so a Kellen Moore than Jalen Hurts, but he hasn't really been where we think he could be at this point. I'm not going to take it too far. But that first drive in the second half really kind of made us mad. But then they get the ball and they just methodically boom, boom, boom. And you're like, well, where's this at? Let's do it more often. Let's do it when we need it to. But no complaints here. That was a beautiful drive. I mean, Goddard's been amazing the last 3 games. My goodness, he's been fantastic. And AJ was incredible. I mean, hopefully the knee looked really, really good today.
To me, I don't know about you, but I thought it looked pretty good.
Beautiful, and I like the fact that he takes he took a few of the catches, and I said one time, he makes the catch and gets down. I'm good. Don't take the hit, just get down, and it was beautiful play. First down.
Yep. Then we get the ball back to them. We kick it over to them. Kind of a bummer here. They do have a nice little 9-play, 70-yard drive, 8-play, 70-yard drive to go down and score. Big play to Zach Ertz, big play to De'Ami Brown, all that sort of stuff. They go down and score, and they do get a 2-point conversion to our old pal Olamide Zaccheaus. And you kind of like, oh shoot, it was a 3-score game. It was a 19-point game at 34-15. And after that, you're like, oh, it's 34-23. It's an 11-point game.
Yes.
We got to put it away. What's going on? After that point, Eagles get the ball back. 8 plays later, we punt it, and we're like, okay, here we go. It'll get down to the 5-yard line, get down to the 10-yard line. Unfortunately, Keely Ringo's foot is on the line when he hits it. Right, and it's a touchback, which was super bummer. Really frustrating that happened.
I mean, Sidney Brown was there too, and he made a play.
He did. It was good.
The ball,
it was good until it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but we kind of knew when we saw it. But I was hoping that what was it, Rodgers? Oh no, Keely Ringo. I was hoping Ringo didn't touch the ball, but he did.
4 plays later, Eagles force another fumble, and at this point, felt like the game was over. Jaden Daniels passes it to Austin Eckler for a yard. Oren Burks punches it out. Great game from Oren Burks, by the way. And then Zach Bond recovers it. We score a touchdown just a couple plays later, and it's when they keep on jumping off sides and everything like that. Which, can we talk about that real quick? I had no idea this was a thing that could happen.
I know what you're saying.
I had no idea that, I knew that if you committed the same penalty a couple times in a row, it'd be an unsportsmanlike. So Frankie Luvo jumps over, he jumps over again, and then it's like, okay, he could get an unsportsmanlike. I've heard of that before. Well, then the other guy jumps off sides,
right?
And it's like, okay, they've been warned that if this continues, we're going to give him a score. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea or ever heard that this was possible. And I'm just like, that's great. I mean, that's incredible. What a cool thing. After that, they let it go. We went up right down and scored on a 1-yard tush push from Jalen Hurts. And this was where the game was over. This pushed the game up to 41-23. And right, is that did I that's right? Yeah, 41-23. Yeah. Then a nice little turnover on downs from them. We go down and score with a Saquon Barkley hat trick, third touchdown.
That was a 30-yard drive when we got that beautiful sack. And I want to say that Huff was in on that one play. He didn't make the sack, but he did kind of push the quarterback out of the pocket. And, of course, Nolan Smith came from behind, and I think the pressure had finally gotten to Jaden Downs. And, he made that tackle, and it was already 4th down, so we took over at their 30, and it was just
1 yard.
We kind of knew at the time. Let's get this thing in the end zone, and we know it's going to be over.
Yeah, that was great. And then, we go score a touchdown, Saquon Barkley's 3rd touchdown of the game. Game starts to feel like it's over because we're already in the 4th quarter. And then we get a nice little interception. They drive down, they're getting a couple yards, 10-play drive, and you're like, okay, well, they'll walk away with something. But at this point, you're feeling good. The game's almost out of reach. And then Quinyon Mitchell makes it go out of reach. They throw it in the end zone. Quinyon Mitchell picks it off. An incredible focused play. He went up and tried to get it, didn't get it, and then it came down. Terry McLaurin missed it, came down right into his hands. Perfect.
It's so funny, too, because early in the season, Quinyon kind of missed a couple, I don't want to say easy ones. Nothing's easy. But to make the catch that he made here, it's like you could say, I'm not missing this one. And then so now he has 2 interceptions in the last 2 games. 2
interceptions in the 3 games.
In the 3 games.
Come on, man.
That was the Packer game too?
Yeah. Come on, man.
Oh,
it was in the end zone too. It was a touchback. It's cool.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it's just great for him to, get these numbers now. And it doesn't matter that he didn't have them in the regular season because I kept saying when we got into the postseason, he's been saving them up and he got 2. So
it's true. It's
amazing.
You're right. And then after that point, the craziest play of the game happens, really. Shipley breaks for a 16-yard run, and you're just kind of happy for him. Like, hey, that's cool. Especially with Gainwell getting a little concussion. You're like, okay, well, we need Shipley to get a little experience here. Next play, he got his experience. 57-yard run from Gainwell, goes down at the Washington 7.
Yeah.
People were going nuts. It was just so cool for a player not named Saquon Barkley to have that big of a play. Just didn't expect it. It was kind of just like, okay, when a team at the end of the game is running out the clock, the other team knows you're running it. So you kind of expect them to just get tackled for a 1-yard loss, 2-yard
gain. They had the 3 timeouts at the time.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, well, he'll just run it a couple times. No, breaks it for a 57-yarder, and 2 plays later, he gets in for a touchdown, his first touchdown of his career, which was just a great moment for him. Great image of Saquon, was running over there, clapping him on the head, happy to see him, happy to get a touchdown for him, and everything like that. It was really great to see.
Not just that, it was 48, 47 at the time.
Yeah.
And I
went to 55.
But I really wanted us to break that 50-point.
It was 49. It was 48 at the time.
Thank you. It was 48, and I was really hoping that we would get over that 50-point hump. Yeah. But with 2 minutes, 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left, but I was just happy because on 1st and 10 from the 30, he got the 16-yard run, and then the Commanders called timeout, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. You're calling timeout. We're going for the throat now because I hate it when they call timeout when they're down 35 points. It just drives me nuts. Let's let it run out. The game is over. Let's just get the game over. So he goes for 16. Now it's 1st and 10 again, and they only have 2 timeouts, and then he takes a 57. And no, the coach took his timeout book and threw it on the ground because he knew he was beat by a better team, and they had a great season. But next year everyone keeps talking about how great they're going to be. Things change, guys. We'll see how they do next year. But it was nice to kick them out of the building and beat them twice this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Coaches leave. Ertz, we'll see if he's that good. He
played well.
He had a great game. He had a great season. We love him as always. Obviously cheering against him today. Didn't want him to do that well. But he did do well, and we got the win, so I'll be happy with that.
It just kind of shows you that you don't mess with Rocky, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Don't be putting your colors on him.
When are you going to learn? I just don't understand.
It's funny because it seems like these last 3 NFC Championship, they blowouts.
Yeah.
31, 38, 55. Just awesome.
Yeah, we do. We do blow people out in the NFC Championship.
Awesome.
Let's get into the good, the bad, and the hurts. Actually, we added an extra extension on here. The good, the bad, and the hurts, and the Sirianni is what I threw on there. So let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the defense first. This defense is unbelievable. I posted it in the Facebook page several times throughout the game. I'm just going to throw out some players, say something about them, and then you follow it up, Dad, with maybe some stats or anything you want to say. But number 1, Zach Bond. He's a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I know it stinks because the voting does happen before the playoffs and everything like that. But he's had an incredible season. Constantly the ball is just coming to him, whether it's I think, he ended the season, I think, with only like 2 interceptions, but fumbles, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. Tell me about what he did today.
Well, today he had 8 tackles, 4 assists for a combined of 12 tackles.
Yeah.
1 tackle for loss, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. I mean, this is the stat line of a guy who's just playing at the best linebacker position, and it's just amazing, and he just continues it up. And then, of course, right behind him was Oren Burks, who kind of was, in there for.
He's definitely the afterthought. I mean, you have to say that's true.
He had 9 combined tackles, 1 sack for 6 yards, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit, and 1 forced fumble. So these are our 2 linebackers who, going into the season, we didn't even think we'd ever have any linebackers, and these guys are both. I don't want to say Burks, but he's played great the last few games. Yes. Maybe the last 3 games. I'm not sure. I got to ask you first, but I know the last 2 games he's been amazing.
Yeah, and the first forced fumble that Zach Bond had was huge because it was after we had scored a touchdown, but the drive before was the Washington went down in a long drive, and you're like, oh, crap.
Yep.
And they had to kick a field goal, so you're happy with that. You're like, oh, that's great. But the next drive, you're kind of worried they didn't get a lot of rest, and the offense just drove on them, and that was huge. That was on the Washington 39, and that allowed us to go up an extra score. I mean, that was just so enormous. That forced fumble.
Well, as we know, we've had 10 turnovers in our favor in the playoffs, and we have not turned the ball over yet in the 3 playoff games that we've played. So today we had 4 turnovers, 1 interception, 3 fumbles. And it's just amazing that they just keep causing these fumbles, and recovering the ball as well. Yeah. It's funny because on the one that was Eckler's fumble that was recovered, Jalen Carter almost scooped it up and ran with it and kind of went through his hands.
That was my next one I was going to say about Zach Bond.
Gotcha.
His other big play that he had with the fumble recovery was at another big moment. So that first fumble, he forces in a huge part in the second drive.
Blankenship's recovery.
Yes, correct. And then the second big play with the fumble recovery, that was to end the third quarter. It was one of the last plays of the third quarter. And at that point, it was 23-11. I'm sorry, 34 to 23. It was an 11-point game.
Right.
And they had just scored a touchdown, and we had to punt. So, I mean, both of his plays took part in pivotal moments that led to momentum shift. I mean, he comes up in the biggest time.
He does.
He does. Quinion Mitchell does. Jalen Carter, as we all know, last week does. Which leads Nolan Smith does. Which leads me to my next 2 guys. Yeah. Jalen Carter. I'm going to say this. He's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year one day. I have no doubt in my mind. Zach Bond, we'll see. Things can change.
Right.
Jalen Carter, second year in the league. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year one day. Mark my words. Timestamp this.
Yeah.
Go bet on it. Whatever. It's going to happen.
Funny because the stat line for Jalen Carter was 2 assisted tackles.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's it.
It's insane.
And you go, what?
Pass defense, didn't he block one down?
No, that was Milton Williams got that one. But yeah, you're right. They're both big guys. But it was amazing. The sack that Davis had was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in there in about half a second.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't expect a guy that's 360 or whatever he weighs to be able to get that skinny little quarterback, and he just ran right at him, and the guy couldn't do anything.
And which is my next 2 players. Nolan Smith. It's okay. No, it's okay. Just talk about the guy I talk about.
Okay, gotcha.
Nolan Smith continuing to grow. We're taking this from another guy at NBC Sports Philadelphia. He's got more sacks in his Eagles career than Reggie White did in the postseason. I'm sorry. Okay. In the postseason, he's got more sacks in his Eagles career than Reggie White did. I think so. Last year, the Bucs game, and then these 3 games and 4 games, Nolan Smith has 5 sacks.
Yes.
In all of his games. I don't know how many Reggie White played. He only had 4 sacks. So Nolan Smith, I mean, his growth continuing into the postseason, he's just been unbelievable. His ability to get around that tackle sometimes, it's just in these biggest moments. He did it on 4th down. He got the sack.
Yeah, it's so funny because throughout the game, we continually were saying we need a blindside sack from one of our defensive ends, and they just weren't there at the time. But eventually, he came in and had a beautiful sack. He also had one tackle for loss and also 1 quarterback hit. I mean, he's still playing out his mind, even though he wasn't like at the top of the stat sheet. You know what I mean? But just to get that 1 sack was gigantic. We had 3 on the day, and every one of them was pivotal. Yep. It's incredible.
And then you mentioned Jordan Davis, that great sack. Also, Oren Burks with his forced fumble. I mean, that's huge for him to come in. As a backup, he had to replace Nakobe Dean, who was playing, at an elite level as a linebacker.
Definitely.
Burks comes in, 9 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's incredible that your guy coming off the bench for this game, or I guess he's a starter now because Nakobe's out, but a guy that's didn't get to play all season long really. I mean, Vic Fangio just really knew how to prepare these guys, which leads me to this point. We've only allowed 18 points per game in the playoffs.
Right.
Now, I mean, I know 23 today, that's more than you want. But if you're only allowing 23 points in a postseason game, playoff game, that's huge. Only letting up 18 points a game is unbelievable. I mean, 23 points today, 22 points for the Rams, and only 10 points for the Packers. Defense is playing out of their mind, and they're leading this team. And they led this team to a Super Bowl berth.
And just another note would be that the Commanders scored eight points in the third quarter and 0 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, never scored again.
Jordan Davis did have 1 pass defense as well.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. And then next thing I was going to mention, we forced 10 turnovers in these 3 playoff games. I mean, 10 turnovers in these three playoff games.
That's funny because
That's incredible.
In the regular season, we went weeks without getting.
There was times where it was like, man, we just can't get a turnover.
Can't get a pick, can't get a fumble.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, turned it up in the playoffs, and that's really what they've done this year. It's been amazing.
Yes. Let's talk about the offense. The good of the offense. It's impossible, and I mean it's absolutely impossible to describe Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, 15 rushes, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. First play from scrimmage for the Philadelphia Eagles today was a 60-yard touchdown from him. There's no words. I can't help but smile.
I don't know if anybody else was doing what I was doing, but I just couldn't. I didn't even
we didn't
jump
even
up.
cheer. Now we weren't at the bar. If we were at the bar, I'm sure we would have gone nuts. But at Rhinos, but we were at home because my wife's work, so we had the baby, and we didn't even cheer.
I didn't even jump out of my seat.
Just like.
I said, I can't believe it. I can't believe this. This is unreal.
I know.
Pinch me.
I looked at you like, when he got to the 10 yards, 15, 20 yards downfield, you're like, oh, good run. Right. And then when he breaks it for the touchdown, I'm just like, you and I were both like,
I can't believe it.
No way did that just happen.
That's right.
There's something. Is there a penalty? Like, there's no way that just happened.
It was amazing.
First play of a playoff game. Couldn't for us.
Especially when you're like, if we had done a weird pass play or a flea flickers, this is what we do. This is what you prepare for. How do you give up 60-yard run on the first play of the game?
Question for you. I know this will never happen, but should the NFL extend their awards to playoffs?
Well, yeah, you shouldn't be voting in September for Player of the Year. You should.
No,
I'm kidding.
But you know what I mean.
You know what I mean? Yes, they should. I believe they should because when you get to this point in the season, you go, well, okay, quarterback for the Ravens, you're gone. Yeah. Why would we vote for you for the Player of the Year?
As we know, Josh Allen, the other guy who's in the running, is gone.
Exactly. And
Saquon Barkley is 29 yards away from the all-time regular season and postseason rushing record in a full season combined.
It makes the MVP this season for sure. Other seasons too we could talk about, but the MVP is Saquon Barkley, no doubt, hands down. It doesn't even make sense. And now when this guy receives the MVP, he should just call up Saquon and give me your address because I'm sending you this. Because I don't deserve it. It's just ridiculous.
It is unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. Offensive Player of the Year. MVP, he should get both.
And I know he won't win MVP, but because the voting, but Offensive Player of the Year, I mean, there's a chance he doesn't win it because Jamar Chase was great and Joe Burrow and everything. But if he doesn't win Offensive Player of the Year, it'd be so frustrating.
Dude, he had 7.9 yards a carry today, and he only carried it 15 times. And if anybody out there who was crying and saying he should be playing the last game of the season to break that stupid record is ridiculous because look what he's done in the playoffs now. 119 week 1, 205 week 2, and 118 week 3.
And I'll also mention this, the two teams that rested their starters in week 18, they're in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
The Eagles obviously rested their starters against the Giants. The Chiefs rested their starters. Now, I know, of course, the Lions did rest their starters, so it's not like it happened to everybody. I'm sorry. The Lions got a bye. The Lions didn't rest their starters. They play the Vikings. Yeah.
You're right.
The two teams that rested their starters in week 18, they're in the Super Bowl. The Ravens, when they played their starters, Zay Flowers got hurt, and it helped them do nothing and get knocked out of the playoffs.
So, that's got to go to bed, just like we always argue about playing your starters in Week 18, where the year before when AJ got hurt, and we kind of went, what are we doing? Yeah. No sense playing him, and we played him, and he got injured in the first quarter. So, say what you will. Hopefully next week or 2 weeks from now, Barkley can keep
the same thing. Yep, break that record.
Unbelievable.
AJ Brown, another good 6 catches for 96 yards on 8 targets, 1 touchdown, and 1 penalty drawn on Marshawn Lattimore, which was nice. But I don't know how they can call that penalty on him. But still, Marshawn Lattimore and him, I talked to you about it downstairs, and I'm like, I wonder why they hate each other so much. It's not like when they were on their old teams, they weren't in the same division. Like they weren't in the same conference. Like they didn't really play each other on the norm.
They played against each other in high school or college.
College, I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but it seems like they don't like each other. Now, Lattimore is pretty famous for his feud with Mike Evans, of course, but I don't know. I was kind of like, man, they really, really don't like each other.
They went at each other early, too. A lot of hand checking, and there was one time that AJ was blocking, and he pounded him, and it's just like, man, it was a 2-yard run. What are you doing? Like, it just seemed to me like, that there's some hate out there, and you're just surprised.
Weird, but
he had a great catch on him.
Who was your player to watch?
My player to watch was Cooper DeJean.
Okay,
He had a great game again. He's always playing up there tight.
It's just that mine was AJ Brown, so I was obviously the winner.
Yes,
I just didn't know.
But yeah, no, Coop did great. He had a great defensive play down the sideline there early on in the game. Blocked pass.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. Yeah, that was great.
But I mean, he came up tackling those guys short of the sticks a few times there. Guy barely misses a tackle ever. He's just been amazing. So
next on the offense, the good Goddard. Dallas, I don't want to call him Dallas Goddard. Philly Goddard is having the playoff run of his career, the playoff run of tight ends. I mean, he's just been unbelievable. 85 yards this game. I should have pulled up his stats for the last few games and everything, but 85 yards in this one, 56 last week, and then 47 against Green Bay and a touchdown. It's not unbelievable, groundbreaking yards or anything like that. He also had 13 rushing yards today mentioned. And it's not like he's catching a touchdown every game, but he's so sure-handed. He's just had these catches in these high leverage moments. And he's done the best. He's done the best with what he's getting, and it's been great. He's just been incredible to watch, and he's so important to this offense.
He's been amazing. It's great, and I was telling you earlier that one of my under the nest plays was, and we didn't really qualify it as one, but just the fact that they did those 2 running plays where he was going in motion. They gave him the ball because they were stacking the box. We were kind of inside the 10 or the 15-yard line, and he takes it and he gets 4 yards, but he's punishing these other guys and he's not hitting linebackers or linemen. He's hitting DBs and corners. And he's taking he's just giving them some punishment, and it also takes away that play where you think, okay, we're at the 8 or the 6-yard line. We're just going to run it up the gut. And no, they give it to Goddard, and he gets these 4 yards. What did he get? Two carries today?
Yeah, 2 carries, 13 yards.
13 yards. So the one I knew was 4, so he got 9 on the other carry. But, I mean, it's just huge plays, and I just thought that was
it's a good wrinkle.
As much as I give Kellen Moore a hard time, I thought they were really, really cool. And they also gave a Devontae an end-around type run, and he had about 8 yards, I think. Which I also thought was a great play.
Very good.
I just like when they mix it up like that. Too. Again, Barkley only had 15 carries, which is
insane.
Incredible.
It felt like he had a lot more, but yeah. Let's talk about this. The offensive line. You can't talk about our ability to run the ball, our ability to dominate teams late in games without mentioning the offensive line. They're unbelievable. There was 2 sacks on Hurts. I thought one of them, was a blitz. There was no way anyone could pick that up. It was just a bummer. But the other one, Mailata did get a little bit beat around the edge. But aside from those 2, I mean, they dominate the other teams. They wear them down throughout the game. And late in the games, we saw it when Will Shipley, 77-yard run. And just 4 carries, 77 yards, got a touchdown. I mean, just late in the game. And Mailata was still in the game at that point. And not to mention this, Landon Dickerson has to start the game in place of Cam Jurgens, which I thought he did a good job, had a few high snaps here and there, but he hasn't played center since college, so it's been a while. But just speaking of which, shout out to Howie Roseman. That's such a great thing that he did. He drafted back-to-back centers, Landon Dickerson, the next year Cam Jurgens, I'm sorry, maybe it was 2 years apart, but
they were.
Was he? Yeah. Sorry. So drafted 2 centers and made them play guard first. Then Jurgens becomes a center to back him up, but to back up Kelsey and take his space. But once Kelsey's gone and Cam gets hurt, Landon played center. Let's put him in, and he was a great center in college.
Missed a beat.
It's just huge. And Steen, just Stoutland's ability to have these guys ready is just unbelievable.
It's amazing though, because early in the game, when I saw there was a couple high snaps, and I didn't even look to see if Jurgens was in, and that's when we started looking into it because there were a few high snaps early, and you're like, we can't have that, and then of course
the game was the touchdown. We were like, wait, what? Who's in there?
But then he settled down, so I mean, it was pretty amazing. But it's just great to have that. And Steen played left guard; he was amazing.
Yeah, it's fine, perfect.
Played great. We ran for 200 and
230, I think, or was it even more? I have it on here. 1 second. 29. Oh, the kneel down.
Yes.
Those damn kneel downs.
You lose 3 yards on those.
So. That stinks.
But and they got to eliminate. That's a silly stat. But anyway,
I did see a funny thing at the time. I don't know if it was posted on Twitter, but when I went on Google and was just looking at some stuff with the Eagles, there was a tweet I think that mentioned at one point there was the center and guard, which was Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen, 2 Alabama players. They were double teaming, I think, Deron Payne, a former Alabama player. And then Wild Hurts, a former Alabama player. threw a pass to Devontae Smith, an Alabama player. It was like all three of all the players in that game were so much Alabama. But this offensive line was just incredible. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, that's fine. I'm just kind of wrapping up some stats. We had 6.4 yards a carry with 229 yards. Every game we're running for over 200 yards as a team. It's amazing. And then the one thing we talked about during the pod for the preview of the game, of this particular game, was to not let the Commanders run the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So you take away Daniel's 48 yards. He had that 119-yarder. Their two running backs only combined for 51 yards on 19 carries. So you're talking probably, 2.3 carry.
3-4.
But I mean, even late in the game when they hand the ball off thinking they could catch us because we knew they were passing, they were losing yards. They were 3rd and 2. Second and 12, and second and 10. They just could not run the ball at all, and it made them a one-dimensional team, which is what we wanted to do, and it worked in our favor.
Yeah. So that's what I have in the good section. Let's get to the bad. Not much to talk about. Number one, Jake Elliott missed another field goal, a 54-yarder. I don't know a solution. And I don't see one in play. The good thing about it, he made all of his extra points, so that happy for that because we scored 8 touchdowns. So we made 8 extra points, which is great. But
7 because we went for 2 on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You're right. You're right.
No,
7 extra points. You're right. But missed a field goal, and it's a 54-yarder. There's wind, but this isn't a weather thing to talk about. This isn't something you can go, it was windy, or last week it was snowing. No, this is a continuing problem, and I'm worried, man.
Yeah, by the time he kicked that field goal, the wind had died down significantly. It was not blowing. I think it was blowing 4 miles an hour at the time. So, we just can't have that our next game.
Obviously,
we can't have it next game. Again, I didn't like the fact that we even tried for that field goal after we took a sack on that play prior.
Yeah.
Well, let's just pin him down and do it, but
the sack just shouldn't have been taken. I thought the play call was bad. I wanted to run there. I know, like I said,
3rd and 6.
It's hard to say we should run on 3rd and 6, but 3rd and 6 is an obvious passing down. So when you run it, someone runs past the line of scrimmage, and Saquon runs past him because he's going full speed for the running quarterback. You never know. I could be totally wrong, but I just didn't like that play.
I would have rather had a nice, safe 45-yard field goal, not a 54-yard field goal.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a concern, and you know what? Let's just see what happens at the end of this year. But it's tryout times next year. We're going to have to do something with the kicker.
Probably. My next one was the play calling at the start of the 3rd quarter. That point was kind of nerve-wracking. I know we scored a touchdown, it's kind of dumb to say it was nerve-wracking because we had scored a touchdown. Then Washington was able to kick that field goal before the half, and you're like, God darn it, that's annoying. And then we started the 3rd quarter and a nice little 3-and-out with 2 sacks, and you're just like, dude, they're not 2 sacks.
It was 2 sacks because the first play was
a run.
He ran,
so
they called it a sack because on the next play he got sacked again, and they said that's 2nd sack in a row. And I went, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's right. But it was annoying. It was a really bad beginning of the 3rd quarter. Thankfully, the defense was able to stop them and force a punt back after a great Davis sack. But that was frustrating.
Yeah, it was. And it's just not the way you want to come out of the half.
No.
Coming out of the half, it's like the start of the game. You should have a set 3 or 5 or 10 plays that you're ready to go, pick and choose and do this and do that, not just – it looked like a broken play.
It is weird.
It looked like a broken play.
It's weird to me that you'd have a whole 15-minute half coming out. And it's more than 15 minutes. It's always a couple minutes longer and everything. And your first idea is all right, we're going to run a QB run. Let's QB keep. And you're like, what? Yeah. That's the first play you would do out of the half? Like, I didn't like it.
It was just a bad – it looked to me like a broken play because looked like Barkley was running almost even with him. He was in front of him a little bit on the left, but it just was silly.
So Hurts, let's get into the Hurts section. So obviously, this was his best game since the Steelers game when he had those 290 yards passing and it shut up everybody. Then, of course, he got hurt, so he wasn't able to play that well and struggled the last few weeks. Great game from him. I thought this was a perfectly efficient game. I love the word efficient. And, all season long, the big thing that, Nick was always saying in his post-game press conferences, all that sort of stuff, was saying, he's playing very efficient. And there was times where I was like, no, that's not what's happening right now. This is different. The Steelers game was efficient, and this was perfectly efficient. 20 for 28, 246 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns, of course. Not a ton of rushing yards, but I thought he played one of the best games of the season, if not the best game. The stats won't show that, of course, but I thought it was one of his best of the season.
Definitely. I mean, we're looking at almost like 72, 73% completion rate, and then approximately 8.59 yards per pass play. It was great. It seemed to me like there was a few plays where he did have somebody to throw it to, like I always tell you, we need to have that short yardage option. He did seem to hit a few of those on outside.
I thought so too.
He threw that one to Barkley that wasn't caught, but it was close. It wasn't a bad play. But AJ was amazing. I love the way they use him, and I'm glad to see he was moving well. Made a great catch down the left sideline, which was incredible. And Goddard, of course, you already hit on it. He's open short, he's open deeper, and then every once in a while they catch him 25 yards down the field wide open. Yep. Devontae
making those passes.
Devontae took his guy into the middle of the field and they left him wide open.
Yep. And that was a perfect pass from Hurts to that corner.
Oh yeah.
And then anything else on Hurts? That's all I got.
No, it was amazing.
We need that from him again.
He looked good. We were nervous about the knee injury. He seemed to move pretty well. He didn't get a lot of yards per carry, but he didn't look stiff in the pocket. He did move around a few times. A couple times it wasn't his fault. I mean, they were bringing in 7 guys, and they were getting right in. So it was just kind of made it tough. But no.
Let's get to the Nick Sirianni. So we got to give our flowers. We got to put we got to admit when we're wrong. I don't know, you weren't on him too much, but I was. Nick Sirianni went 2-2 to start the season. In that fifth game, or after the bye week, week 6 against Cleveland, he yelled at the fans. The media was going nuts. This dude looked like a clown. We were like, oh my gosh, this is just brutal. And we were calling for his job. Maybe not you, but me. I was on here publicly. I put myself out there. I'm not afraid of it. I said some things about him, and I was like, man, I just don't know if this is the guy, and just doing this and doing that. We made that great TikTok making fun of him, all that sort of stuff. 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. It's impossible to argue. It's impossible to argue that.
What's his win-loss record? Not counting the postseason, 45, 46 wins.
I have no idea. Yeah, but yes, you're right. It's
been amazing.
It's impossible to say anything against him. I don't know. I was completely wrong. I apologize, Nick, and I'm cheering for you now, so don't let me down now. But no, I mean, in 4 years, all 4 years, he's finished in the top 2 in the NFC East. Of course, been in the playoffs all 4 years, won 2 divisions, and now he's going to his second Super Bowl. I mean,
that's incredible.
In a 3-year span, which is just unbelievable. 2 14-win seasons as a head coach in the regular season, 48-20, and in the postseason, I mean, do the math. Won 2 games, the Super Bowl, lost the 2. Won 2 games to go to the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, lost in the playoffs, the 2 times the NFC in the wild card, and then won 3 games this year. So he's 5-3 in the postseason. Right? Is that right?
Yes.
I'm doing my math right. Thank God. But yeah, 5-3 in the postseason. I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, it's just
for a 4-year head coach. Yeah,
for 4-year head coach, it's just great. I can't say anything bad anymore. I'll keep my mouth shut the next time.
His record his rookie year?
9-8.
So you throw that one out, and you got some pretty good numbers.
Yeah. I'll keep my mouth shut if he starts yelling at the fans again.
That's right. He can yell whoever he wants to. Just keep winning.
Let's get to my under the nest of the game. So number 1, offense. The second drive of the game, we had just let up the field goal and then the fake punt and everything like that. It was like, I don't know, or maybe that was later. I don't remember now. Gosh. Devontae Smith got a 20-yard catch along the sideline. It's on first down. Not too sure if your foot was in there, Jim. But got that foot in. We hope. And even if he didn't, it's in the books. And he got up and he made sure of it. Guys, we got to run a play. Let's go. So I thought that was good.
It's not on us to throw the red flag. It's on the other coach got to throw the red flag. So definitely. I think he had one foot in and the other one was in, and then it pushed out of bounds. But
my defensive under the nest, I actually didn't choose a defensive play to go under the nest. I chose special teams. And you kind of actually suggested this one, so this was your play. The Will Shipley forced fumble on the kickoff at the end of the second half. We had just scored a touchdown.
Right.
And then got to score another one right there. I mean, that was just so huge to start putting the game into an unreachable spot. I just thought that was incredible.
I just can't believe they put 55 up. That was incredible.
Yes. Yeah, that was it's just wild.
That's awesome.
It is. Bottom line, we're going to the Super Bowl, you guys.
Super Bowl 59.
So we're going to Super Bowl 59. hopefully the luck is in our side this year. I wanted to point this out, bottom line as well. Since my daughter's been born, we've gone 15-1, and we're in the Super Bowl. So I'd like to come on here and publicly thank my daughter.
Good luck, John.
Thank my wife for all that she's done. And to all of you, I'll say you're welcome for what I've done to help this team, get to the Super Bowl. I mean, if we win the Super Bowl because of me, I'm going to have to rename her.
In a heck of a year.
I'm going to have to rename her to Jalen Hurts Sirianni. Jalen Nick Sirianni Hurts Rabeda. I don't know. Yep. It's going to be something, man. Jeez. Be crazy.
Amazing.
Heck of a year, man. Heck of a year so far.
Yes.
As we found out before coming up here, the Chiefs did beat the Buffalo Bills by 32-29 in another devastating matchup for Buffalo. What a horrible way to end their season, and just felt like it was their year, and everyone probably did. And we came on here and we were like, oh, yeah, you said the Chiefs. And I was like, well, I think the Bills will win. And then I said, but of course I know they won't. You know what I mean? Like, we just knew it wasn't going to happen. So unfortunately, we do have to go to play the Chiefs again in New Orleans. Really wanted to avoid this matchup. I can't stand playing the Chiefs. And it's also
to avoid it, but we can't.
It's also just, I don't know.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. But let's talk about some injuries that we hope don't affect us going to the Super Bowl. It's 2 weeks from now, so we should be good. But Slay left the game towards the end of the game. I think he was just – I don't know if he really got hurt or if they were kind of like, no, at least just start taking guys out.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Might as well.
And then Kenny Gainwell did, I think, leave with a concussion.
He got hit pretty good on the kickoff.
Yes. I'm not too sure if it was officially ruled as a concussion, if he was officially ruled out.
Right.
Or if they were just kind of like, no.
Take him out.
We're going to take this easy. Not too certain for sure, but we keep an eye on that.
Right.
Thankfully, like I said, 2 weeks from now, we got that time for Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens.
Yeah,
a lot of time for people to heal up. So that's the positive
beauty of it. Yeah, no big injuries in this game, so it's a good thing.
Definitely. Yep. You got anything else, Dad? We'll be coming back. I don't know if we'll record again later this week. Maybe wait until the preview for the Super Bowl in a couple weeks. I'm not too sure. Maybe we'll come back next week and talk about favorite Super Bowl memories or something like that, or great plays in our Super Bowl history. That'd be a cool thing, but we'll see. All right, well, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment down below how you're feeling. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Fourth time in my life. I mean, that's just incredible. I know we only walked away with one win, but still, it is something to be thankful for. As much as you want to win it, it still is so incredible to the fact that we're going there. We just have such a success of a team, unlike the Dallas Cowboys. So you can email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.